Aloha, mahalo, as we look at OKO Punch Counter number 11. Once again, this is one of the rare instances we have a double punch. We have a left hook followed by a right hook or a cross, whatever the terminology is you want to use, whether it's a hooking punch or a haymaker. We need to have a zone of sanctuary. In this particular technique, and probably from here on out, I'm going to mix the walkthrough of the technique with the concepts and principles because there's going to be quite a bit to get through. So my apologies ahead of time. If you want to see a breakdown of just the step-by-step of how to do the technique, see GGM Groff's videos has already been posted on the OKO website. This is a two-punch attack. Our level of severity has gone up. We've been dealing with predominantly one-punch attacks. Now the severity has gone up, the difficulty has gone up, now we have a two-punch attack. So once again, it's coming from our 12 o'clock in our green zone, left foot slightly forward, pre-position number 2. Now I want to control distance. This is going to determine whether it's a shorter person that is defending against a larger or vice versa, whether I step forward or step back. In my particular case, I usually would want to step forward with my left foot to close the distance to go to a zone of sanctuary. What is a zone of sanctuary? Whenever we're dealing with circular weapons like hook punches, the best zones of sanctuary are diagonally to the corners of a room, immediately in front of our opponent or immediately behind our opponent. In this particular case, I want to go to the inside of my opponent. I also don't want him to get to the apex of his strikes. This is what we'd call distance control. So as he does so, the left one comes first. I'm going to step with my left into him, left inward brush block, and strike with either back knuckle or a hammer fist to the bicep. And that causes then the next arm to come. I'm going to, with my right hand, go from this corner of the conceptual box, right inward, left outward strike. So as it looks like as we would practice, this is called being on the inside and practicing double factor motion or parries. It's an inward parry with an outward parry, an inward parry with an outward parry. Instead of the outward parry is now a strike rather than the parry. So once again, from the beginning, step, parry, strike, parry, strike. Now, as he comes in, this is what we would call a bullet. It's not a blit in the fact of block and strike at the same time, but they're very close together. They're almost, you could talk about them as like eighth notes apart from each other. 1, 2, 1, 2. This is a double factor, or we could introduce, as we looked at previously, a double tap. If we think of the dolphin tail, as we come in now, they're both strikes. But instead of left inward, right outward, it would be a right outward, left inward. As I step in, tap, then now just the dolphin tail with my left hand comes across, dolphin tail to the wrist, and strike. 1, 2. Either way, whether it's brush block strike or dolphin tail, it's really up to you. Experiment with both. So from here, my right hand is going to grab his shoulder. I'm going to kick to what we would call is L4. L4 is going to be, if this is my leg, here's my foot, my knee. Just above the knee on the inside of the thigh is L4, what's called lung 4. A strike there, if properly executed, can cause the lungs to spasm and to not take air in, thus shocking our opponent. So once again, 1, 2, I'm going to grab. If I'm using the dolphin tail, my right hand is going to grab. If I'm using the brush block strike, my right hand is going to grab. I'm going to shift weight and borrow balance from my opponent. Left kick to that L4. Now, as I land, as I'm borrowing, his balance. I'm going to shift his own weight now to his right foot because I want to off-weight him to allow me to do the takedown. In other words, we have these two sticks here. These are my opponent's legs. I've now kicked his right leg, excuse me, his left leg with L4. Should be numb, should be hurting. Now I'm going to shift weight. Notice as I shift weight, his right foot now goes down. In other words, as I shift weight, notice my right side is now coming down. He's relying upon that leg more, putting more weight forward. So as I've struck, grab, L4, I'm going to shift my weight back to pull him down. My right leg is going to come up. And this is where we want to do basically a shin stomp. I am going to start the inside of my foot by his knee and go down and in to affect the trip. With someone who has the majority of the weight on their foot, try sweeping in class one day and have one set of students sit there and put all their weight on the forward leg and try sweeping from the front or from the back when you're attacking just the heel, whether the front of the heel or whether you're attacking the Achilles tendon. If all of their weight is on it, you're not going to be able to move it. What we need to do is to continue to shift their weight by striking just below the knee and sliding down, affecting even more of the teeter-totter effect to allow them to go forward. We've off-weight them. And as I do, where my right foot steps is going to become important. In a second, we'll take a look at the lower half of this technique. But where I step, I need to get out of his way, and so that he doesn't accidentally grab my legs on his way down. So what are some of the concepts and principles here? We want to go to a zone of sanctuary, coming into our opponent with that bull it. Not a blit, but bull dash it. We have distance control. I'm controlling the distance between me and my opponent. We have the double factor or the double tap. We have kicking L4, lung 4, and we have off-weighting and a little bit of borrowing balance. Stay tuned in just a moment as we look at the lower half motion. Okay, my left foot is slightly forward. As he comes in, I'm going to cut the distance and step in. Now, you can control the distance by stepping back with your right foot if you need to. In this particular case, let's step in. I step in, blit. I'm going to double factor, grab. I'm going to shift weight. Notice I'm shifting weight to my back foot to allow me to kick, L4, and land. As I do so, I'm going to shift his weight onto his other leg to allow me to bring my shin up and to scrape down his shin, affecting that takedown. Now, where my right foot steps is important. As I've scraped down, I'm going to want to bring it around out of his way. Now I'm in my fighting stance facing 3 o'clock rather than 12. Once again, from the shin takedown, I'm going to step back towards my 9. Now I'm facing 3 to then bring him down. Somewhat quickly from the front, step in, 1, 2, shift weight, kick, and step. Notice as I step back, I'm allowing me to drag him with me